Is RTT therapy really just hypnotherapy under some fancy branding? Well, the answer is RTT therapy is hypnotherapy, but that doesn't mean it's the same as other types of hypnotherapy. Confused? Well, I'm going to make it clear for you what RTT therapy is, how it is similar to hypnotherapy, what it has in common, what is different about it, and what you really need to understand before making a decision about whether you want to do hypnotherapy, whether you want to do RTT therapy, and understand what are the differences. Because frankly, it's pretty hard for people to understand the differences because there are lots of different modalities of hypnotherapy according to the different schools. So let me first of all start off by telling you, you may have already read this, how RTT, Marisa Peer herself, describes RTT therapy. It's described as being a hybrid therapy which brings together different modalities, including hypnosis or hypnotherapy, that's basically the same thing, with CBT, with neuro-linguistic programming, with psychotherapy, and with other types of therapy. So that is the way that they describe it. It's about bringing together the best tools, the best modalities out there to fit together to give people the best solution. So that's how they describe it. So I'm going to give you my view of how I see it from my experience. And my experience is based upon being a hypnotherapist, a certified hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and one of the most experienced RTT therapists. So I do all of these things and I have to work out what is right for my clients. So here is what you really need to understand is that RTT therapy is a type of hypnotherapy that was developed by Marisa Peer. She developed it over around 30 years, and Marisa was very much focused on getting results for people, not being constrained by traditional thinking, not thinking in silos, not being, this is my modality and I stick to it, but about really just trying to get the best results for people. And over that 30 years, she became really famous initially for developing this methodology to help people with eating disorders. She worked with lots of Hollywood celebrities working with eating disorders. And one of the things that really came out of that was it was important not to just treat the symptoms. So she was working with people who were anorexic, with bulimic, various other eating disorders, and she was seeing all these symptoms. But what became clear to her was what she needed to do was deal with the root cause. And that's really, really important to understand because this is a key principle of RTT. So Marisa put all these things together. She worked out, she took a view that it was important to deal with the root cause if you were really going to make rapid and lasting change, and particularly if you're going to do that with complex cases, with a lot of history, with a lot of baggage, if you like, with a lot of things that have led up to where people are at right now. So that's where RTT comes from. And I have been working full-time as an RTT therapist. I was one of the first people ever to be trained. I've been working full-time ever since I was trained, and I did work for a period for Marisa as well in-house. So I think I've got a pretty good idea of what it's all about, what it's good for, where it actually applies. So let me sort of give you a view of what you typically get in hypnotherapy. If you're going to see a hypnotherapist, what it would typically look like, and then what it would typically look like if you're going to see an RTT therapist, because this is important for you to get. Now, disclaimer here, a health warning before I get all sorts of other hypnotherapists telling me, no, that's not right, I do this, or I do that. I'll probably get that anyway. Because there are lots of different modalities, as I said, depending upon who people trained with, people's own experience, people's own preferences. But if you like a classic hypnosis, classic hypnotherapy session with somebody will basically consist of having an initial conversation to get a feeling, to get an understanding of what's going on, what it is you want to get help with. Then they will go through the process of getting you into hypnosis, that state where you are calm, where you're relaxed, and most importantly, where you're receptive to take on board suggestion. And then when they're satisfied they've got you into that suitably relaxed state, then they will give you the suggestions. And they'll give you the suggestions that you've told them that you want, and the suggestions that they think you will need. So that is the typical process of hypnosis, and then they'll bring you out of that, they'll bring you back into full awareness at the end. Okay, and that can be very, very powerful, and typically people will see you maybe for an hour, maybe for 40 minutes, I know some people do it in even less time than that, but it's usually no more than an hour for that session. And you might come back, a therapist might tell you you're going to need 4, 5, 6 sessions with them. Some might tell you you need less. Again, everybody is different. But that is typically it. It's about understanding a bit about the issue, what's going on, getting you hypnotized in a receptive state, giving you those suggestions, bringing you back out of it, and probably most likely repeating that cycle several times, okay? So that's what a typical hypnotherapist will do. And lots of people, as I say, will have some complexity with there, some different things within there. So RTT therapy will also go through that initial process of what they call, you can call it discovery if you like, where typically, for example, I would always have a consultation with people first, not just part of the session. I don't just take a booking where somebody comes to me, I get them hypnotized and we go for it. I will have a good, at least a 30-minute conversation with people before to understand the context, understand what's going on, really get a feeling of what's happening, and really being clear about what people want, not just what I think they want to hear. So, and then in a session, an RTT session is typically 2 hours, so it's usually much longer than a regular, if you like, hypnosis session. We'll start off by clarifying what the people want to do, getting people comfortable, and then it's the same process of getting somebody into hypnosis, getting them nice and relaxed, getting them in a state where they can easily be hypnotized and where this can work well for them. So once they're then in hypnosis, this is where things are slightly different. So rather than going from hypnotizing somebody to then giving them the suggestions that you think they want or that they tell you that they want, in RTT, typically it is 3 stages. In fact, always the pure RTT is about, once they're hypnotized, is that you go into regression, which is about doing this root cause analysis. Where is the problem coming from? If you're anxious, why are you anxious? If you have addiction problems, where does it come from? If you have bulimia, why do you have this poor relationship, unhealthy relationship with food? So that's the first part of it. You do that regression. Under hypnosis, you take people back, you get them to understand why they do what they do. You then go into a second phase. So when you've done that regression of understanding what's going on, you then go into basically what I like to think of, I call reframing, which is about helping the person understand that for whatever reason they took on board those thoughts and those beliefs and those habits, that actually whatever made them do that, they can start to see things differently. They can start to let go of the old unhelpful beliefs. So if people have low self-esteem, and the regression shows that it comes from childhood, from teachers, from friendships, bad relations, whatever it was, you do the reframing under hypnosis to enable people to let go, to see that they're not in that time, they're not in that place, that they can be proud of who they are, that they can be happy with who they are. They don't have to allow themselves to be bullied. They don't have to be in the company of people in school who bullied them or whoever it was who did those things. So you reframe things, how they see things. You're basically enabling people to let go of those old unhelpful thoughts, conditioning that they have about themselves. And then the final part is going into that classic hypnosis of giving people suggestions, or as I like to think of it, as reprogramming, making them think different things, better things. So that's what's different in a session. And also most RTT therapists will do a audio at the end of it. You make a recording. So I will make a recording. I usually do it in flight in the session or at the end of the session while it's really fresh in my mind. I know what that person needs to hear. I know what they're responding well to. And I will make a recording, an audio recording for them to listen to. I ask them to listen to it for 21 days after that session. And this, again, on the theme of being an R, this is about reinforcement. It's about reinforcing. I ask people to listen to that every day for 21 days. It's maybe 15 minutes long. And every time they listen to that, it's reinforcing what we've done. It's making the new thoughts, the new feelings, the new actions that they want to have, making them habitual, okay? So that is typically what an RTT session looks like. Also typically, and again, some people will have this slightly differently, because an RTT session is a 21-day process, and because RTT is about understanding the problem, reframing, reprogramming, reinforcing, everybody moves at a different pace. It's not come back and we'll do the same thing in a week's time. It is about, over that 21 days, actually having some check-ins with people, but it's kind of more like reinforcing, coaching, advising them, checking in with what's happening, because some people, well, that most people will respond in a different way. It's a very individual thing. So that 21 days of reinforcing is kind of like a hand holding and supporting them through that period. So that really is the difference between RTT and a kind of a classic hypnosis. Now, of course, there are hypnotherapists who say, well, I do regression or I do recordings, and people do those things. But RTT does bring together all of those different things. Again, Marisa was very much of the school of thought of, I'm going to put together the best things, the things that in her experience work, and it is a toolkit of things, and it's very, very flexible. It's a methodology. There are lots and lots of tools in there as well. So for example, there are tools that are specific to dealing with healing. There are all sorts of different tools in there specific to a different situation. So what else may be different about it? So again, there are lots of good hypnosis, hypnotherapy schools out there. In my experience, the training that you get and the support that you get in RTT therapy training is extremely extensive. And again, like a lot of things now, people are learning things very quickly over the internet, but it's an expensive course, so people who do this have to invest a lot of money in it, a lot of time in it, a lot of hours in it, and they are supported well throughout that process. So it's a pretty thorough approach. So I hope you found that helpful. I hope you found that interesting. So RTT therapy is hypnotherapy, but it is quite different to most traditional standard, if you like, types of hypnotherapy. It is focused upon understand the root cause, deal with the root cause, reprogram the mind, reinforce things. And as I said earlier, I am not just an RTT therapist, I do regular hypnotherapy, I do mindset coaching, and I typically, for complex problems, for people with anxiety, for people with depression, for people with physical things going on, I would nearly always, certainly for a first session with somebody, do RTT therapy. If somebody comes to me maybe for smoking or weight loss, I wouldn't necessarily do RTT therapy unless I thought there were kind of bigger psychological issues going on behind that. So certainly for weight loss, I might well do RTT therapy, but I might say no, we just need to do that. For other people, so for example, I had somebody come to me for physical issues, various physical issues, where in the first session, very much a classic RTT hypnotherapy session, RTT therapy session, where it's really about let's understand the root cause, let's understand what's going on, why this is happening, why your mind, your body is holding on to this. But this was a situation where it needed, and I saw up front, it would need not just one session, but it would need some more attention afterwards. But it may well be when people need to come back for another session, I don't need to do regression, I don't need to do reframing, I do just need to do that reprogramming. So in that circumstance, I would maybe do follow-up sessions with kind of classic hypnosis, hypnotherapy. But again, a good RTT therapist will be able to understand and will be able to judge what they need in what situation. It really is horses for courses. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Jonathan Butler, RTT therapist, clinical hypnotherapist. Please do like and subscribe if you get value from the video. And if you'd like to know more about hypnotherapy, the problems it can help with, how I could help you, please visit my website. Go to the link below in the description. It's myfitmind.co.uk. That's www.myfitmind.co.uk. Thanks for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Please do subscribe.